Hi everyone, I'm Casey. Welcome to our August 14th gardening workshop, fall vegetable gardening. Once again, I am Casey. I am the Girl Scout who has been holding these workshops every couple of weeks just to get gardening information out there to you guys. I've had the honor of working with the Prince William Master Gardeners as well as working with the Manassas Park City Library to give you guys all this information, as well as set up a seed exchange box to give you guys seeds and have this be a community thing. Valerie, if you would care to talk about the Manassas Park City Library.
Sure. So, hi, my name is Valerie. I work here at the Manassas Park City Library. We are celebrating our birthday this month, celebrating 1 year of being open, which is our little celebratory emblem over by the library name over there. We were thrilled to partner with Casey as a part of her Girl Scout Gold Award project. And she installed the seed exchange box outside of the library. We're located in Blooms Park next to the walking trail. So we get a lot of nature lovers coming through. And with the seed exchange box, you can get free vegetable, fruit, and herb seeds. And it's a leave a seed, take a seed type of box. So anybody is welcome to leave or take seeds from the seed box. And there's a lot of other helpful information in the seed exchange box as well. So as Casey has been going through our online gardening workshops, we've gotten a lot of really great information about gardening. And today I know we have some other great information to share as well. So I've included some links in the description box when we post our final video that will take you to our website and explain more about the project and the seed exchange box for anybody who is interested in learning more about it. And we also have the recordings of our past workshops on our YouTube channel as well for anybody to check out to learn more. So Casey.
And I think that'll lead us into a nice transition into our overview of the workshop and the workshop rules today. As Valerie said, sessions are being recorded and uploaded onto YouTube. If you don't feel comfortable with being recorded, you are free to leave. We are happy that you just showed up. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Valerie. We will let you guys know when the video is uploaded. As for the other rules, no spamming in the chat. I know that that's a weird rule. I've just worked with kids during these Zooms before, and it's just a rule that I put in all of my workshops. Please keep muted during the videos and put any questions, comments you may have into the chat. I love seeing your guys' responses to everything. I love starting a discussion about them. Overview of the workshop today. We did our introductions. Again, happy 1 year to the Manassas Park City Library. Great people work there. We're gonna watch the video provided by the VC Master Gardeners. That's gonna take around 18 minutes. We have a shorter video today, so it's going to be a shorter workshop. We do have some add-ons, final remarks, announcements. That should take around 10, maybe 15 minutes. And then we'll have our Q&A and closing 5-10 minutes, depending on how active the chat is. Anyways, so again, fall vegetable gardening today. Video is provided by the Prince William Master Gardeners. Valerie, if you could give me a signal if my sound isn't working.
Our weekly Wednesday class. Today's class is on fall vegetable gardening. My name is Thomas Bowles. I will be presenting. Christina Hastings Jan Rice, and Natalie Walker will be helping with the chat. Virginia Cooperative Extension is a partnership between Virginia State and Virginia Tech. Our mission is to provide unbiased, research-based information to the public. Here in Prince William County, we offer educational programming in parenting, financial education, nutrition, youth development through 4-H, and environmental and natural resources, which covers agriculture, home gardening, stormwater, and other issues. There are many challenges to growing vegetables in the fall. One of those challenges is that our planting dates are not ideal for the situation. A lot of our planting dates are when it's still hot in late summer, and so we can mitigate this by starting seeds indoors where the temperature is easier to control, or we can purchase starts from a nursery or a garden center. Another issue we run into are early freezes and frosts. While we have an idea of when the average early killing frost is, it can vary from year to year, and so using season extenders is a way to help protect our plants and ensure that we get a crop in on time. Another potential issue is that availability may be limited, and we can work around that by ordering seeds and starts online. We can work and plan with our local garden center to make sure they have in stock the plants that we want, or we can just buy seed in late winter, early spring, and save that for the following fall. Another challenge is the shorter season. We don't have as much time, we don't have as much light, and so we can mitigate that some by using short season varieties, using row covers to extend that season warmth-wise, and growing some plants for greens instead of for their roots, like carrots or beets. Undersowing is a technique we use with crops that are best direct seeded. And this is a technique where you basically are tossing seeds underneath a standing crop. This allows the winter crop to get a head start while the summer crop is finishing up. The picture on the right has mammoth sunflowers. It says overseeded, but it was really undersown with cereal rye and crimson clover. Crimson clover needs a state of maturity in order to be able to survive the winter in our climate. And so by undersowing, we gave the cover crop a jump start so that when we cut those sunflowers down, our cover crop was already established and up and going. If you want to undersow and still have a neat appearance, instead of just broadcasting seed, you can use seed tape. Seed tape is available commercially, or you can make seed tape yourself. At the end, there's a resource from our Florida Extension partners on how to do that. It's very easy, and again, for those of you who are a little bit more orderly in your garden, it creates a much nicer appearance. We often think about orienting our gardening so that as many plants as possible get full and direct sun. However, we can reverse that orientation and use taller plants to shade fall crops while they're still in the field in the summer. And so, for example, if you've got corn growing, if we had reversed this picture, the corn would be shading the radishes and the broccoli and allow them to develop so that they have a longer growing season. Shade cloth is another way to get our cool season plants at a little cooler temperature, even though we've started them when it's hot. And shade cloth comes in a variety of light blocking percentages. Shade cloth is useful either in low tunnels, high tunnels, or in greenhouses. Row covers are something we can use to extend the season. Row covers are a light cloth that allow water and light to penetrate. They provide a little bit of frost protection. They can be installed really easily. It doesn't take a whole lot. They're also useful in excluding insect pests, and for some of our brassicas that can be a major issue. Low tunnels or cold frames are usually cloth or plastic, or in the case of cold frames, glass, that are over the plants, and these are low to the ground. They're usually no more than waist high, occasionally chest high. They're good for frost protection, they're good for excluding insect pests, but they may have issues with snow loads depending on how spaced the supports are. The blue things in the background are columns of water that are in a mat, and they're circling plants. I believe in this case it's peppers. The idea is when a frost hits, it's going to take so much energy to freeze the water that's in there. By the time that cold energy reaches the plant, it'll be warm enough so that there won't be any frost damage. A high tunnel is basically a low tunnel that you can walk in. High tunnels typically are plastic covered. The basic ventilation system they have are doors on either end, which makes it a little harder to moderate temperature during the day. They're unheated at night, which also makes it a little harder to have temperature control. They need to be built sturdy enough to handle both snow and wind. Greenhouses are basically high tunnels that are built a little bit more permanently. They also have ventilation systems and heating systems. That climate control is great, but it does take a lot of cost in terms of running the electricity and that heat. The upfront construction costs are pretty expensive. And depending on what you're growing, you may still need to have supplemental lighting. Generally speaking, I don't recommend greenhouses for beginners, and I don't recommend greenhouses for homeowners. They're great for production, but a lot of times they're not worth the cost if you're a homeowner. Still, there are some home growers that are advanced enough where they can handle running a greenhouse. And if you have questions about greenhouses or whether you should use a greenhouse, let me know and I'm happy to answer those questions. Just because you don't have a greenhouse doesn't mean you can't grow indoors. Sunrooms or even a nice space in the basement with appropriate lighting can be ideal to grow things not only in the fall but into the winter. Temperature control and light are key. There are a lot of newer full spectrum LED lights that are relatively inexpensive and very long lasting. One thing to keep in mind is that the weaker the light and the farther away that light is from the plants, the leggier the plants can get, and that's not what you really want. The easiest thing for indoors is either starting seeds or growing leafy greens. They'll respond best, but you can grow other plants in these situations. So the next question you need to think about after you've figured out, well, what are the challenges and how might I overcome them, is what can you grow? And the place to start is the average killing frost of your location. Here in Prince William County, we're a long county, so we have different average killing frost dates. It's October 19th closer to Bull Run Mountain, and then closer to the bay, you're looking at almost Halloween. So then you kind of backtrack where you are in the calendar as to what you can grow either from seed or from start. Think about your season extenders. This chart up here is from our master gardener Paul Gibson, who made this chart for us. This is based on Virginia Tech publications. If you're in Northern Virginia, this chart will work for you. Email us, we're happy to send it out to you. This particular version of the chart just has our cool season crops. Basically, you're looking at onions, you're looking at cabbages and other members of the Brassica family, lettuces, things like that. If we look at this in a more graphically pleasing or eye-pleasing manner, basically you're looking at members of the onion family, brassicas, various herbs, chinnopods, lettuces, and then a few other hangers-on. Regardless of what plant that you're considering, it's important that you do your research, know how long it takes to reach maturity, know how cold hardy it is, and that's going to influence your planting dates and what kind of season extenders, if any, you're going to need. If all else fails, you can plant cover crops that will help keep your soil working over the winter, and it will help your biology, which will make for a healthier soil and healthier plants in the spring. Cover crops is a whole class by itself, and I can talk for hours on cover crops. If you have questions about cover crops, please email me. I'm happy to discuss your individual circumstances and make some recommendations on what may or may not work for you. There are several members of the onion family that are good in the fall. They're best grown from starts. Growing them from seed is usually a lot of hassle. It's much easier to get starts. Bunching onions like scallions, they're basically perennials, although when we harvest them, we treat them like annuals. They're not very tolerant of frozen ground. They need to be covered or brought inside, or use black mulch cloth to help keep that heat and help to keep the ground from freezing. Bulb onions need about 10 hours of sun to really start forming bulbs, so that's something to keep in mind. When they're planted in the fall, you're going to have smaller bulbs. Generally speaking, you're looking about 80 plus days to maturity, and the seedlings are hardy to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Garlic is a good choice for the fall. In Northern Virginia, you're talking about planting the cloves from late September into October. You're going to mulch them with straw and harvest them in June. Now, there are hard and soft neck varieties, and most of that's a matter of taste. Most of what you get in the grocery store are soft necks. I get asked a lot, can I use garlic from the store as a start? I recommend, if you're going to try and do that, that you start with organic garlic. Most vegetables capable of sprouting in long-term storage are treated with hormones to retard that. That is not considered an organic practice, and so organic vegetables don't have that and sprout more readily. And you find that's true with potatoes, sweet potatoes, and with garlic and onions. Most brassicas are cool season plants, and so we can grow them in both spring and fall. And there are lots of different brassicas to choose from. Most of them can handle a frost, but not all of them can handle hard freezes. Row covers are very helpful for both insulating and reducing pests. Generally speaking, if you're looking for starts, you're more likely to find a brassica than anything else. There are a number of annual herbs you can grow. Cilantro and parsley do really well. Basil and dill will do well until you start getting a frost. Also, there are a number of perennial herbs like rosemary that do well in cold weather. There are a few chinnopods you can grow in cool season conditions. Beets, which are sown directly. They can be harvested for their greens or they can be harvested for their roots. Spinach is another good chinnopod. Typically this gets sown in August, September. Germination is going to vary based on temperature. Sometimes it's better to start spinach indoors where germination will only be a few days as opposed to outside when it's hot where it will take weeks. Swiss chard is another chinnopod option. Direct sowing is preferred with this plant as well as beets. One of the easiest things to grow both indoors and in cool season conditions are lettuces. And there are literally hundreds of lettuce varieties. Generally, they prefer germinating in about mid-70s to low 70s. They prefer to grow in 60 to 65 degree conditions. Lettuces come in a variety of forms. We have the head lettuce, iceberg being the typical one that we think of when we think of a head lettuce, romaine, and then there are lots and lots of leaf lettuces. And leaf lettuces are nice because you can cut leaves, let the plant restore itself, and it will grow back again, and you can come and cut it many times. Lettuce is an easy grow. It's one of those plants that you can get kids hooked on gardening with. It's easy to grow in a sunny window. If nothing else, you can grow lettuce over the winter. There are a couple of legumes you could try. Peas, whether snap peas or snow peas, do pretty well in cool season conditions, but they do take longer to mature than if you plant them in the spring. You can try bush beans, either extending bush beans you've already planted or planting them for the fall specifically. You just need to make sure that you're using short season varieties of bush beans, and remember they are not frost tolerant at all, so they have to be protected if you want to extend the season. Carrots are another fall season option. I would stick with carrots that mature in a shorter amount of time rather than a longer amount of time. You can harvest carrots for the greens or for the roots. The tops are pretty hardy, down to about 18 Fahrenheit. I also would recommend mulching them pretty well, and that'll help protect the roots from cold weather. Potatoes are typically grown in the spring, but you can grow them in late summer and fall. It's just more of a challenge. With potatoes, we start with seed potatoes, which are small potatoes, or you can get sprouted potatoes from your pantry or closet, whatever. Again, with store-bought potatoes, you want to make sure you're going with either really old potatoes that have started to sprout or with organic ones that haven't been treated. Potatoes need to be hilled as they grow, so there's a lot more maintenance involved. You can grow potatoes in containers. In our demonstration garden, we've grown fall potatoes once. We're marginally successful. This would not be my first choice if you're starting a garden to do in the fall. So we've got some resources here for you. Seed tape, again, University of Florida, our Florida Extension folks have a really good do-it-yourself seed tape page. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get information on lots of different vegetables. We also have one that I highly recommend. It's Being an Observant Gardener, which was done by Master Gardener Amy Falch. That's really good on integrated pest management in the garden. And there's the Virginia Virtual Farm to Table video series, which is housed in Fauquier County. Those videos are geared at showing what's being grown in the Commonwealth commercially. However, a number of those videos also include information on growing them in your backyard garden. With that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
And with that, we will be moving on.
Our weekly
Again, thank you to the Prince-William Master Gardeners for letting us use that video. Now, some things I want to add on that they didn't talk about are the pricings of everything. Now, for gardening, it's always nice to compare prices. So for most of these, we have price comparisons between Walmart, Amazon, and Home Depot. So shade cloths are usually consistent with each other price-wise. Cheapest one you can get is at Home Depot, although they are relatively they are all around under $20. With row covers, these are a bit more on the pricey end. These are the low ground row covers. Now for Walmart, it's going to be a tad bit more, but again, just compare prices, because you can look at the Walmart one, but the Home Depot one and the Amazon one are both cheaper. So again, just price variation. With the low tunnels and cold frames. Now with these, I couldn't find any of the ones that they showed in the video, but I did find these cold frame sort of boxes. Now, one thing I want to add about these boxes is they are super good for green gardening. In some of my last workshops, I've shown you guys my my cold frame box that's in my garden, it has tons of lettuce, it has tons of nice leafy greens in there, and we can go through it any time of the year. Granted, we would need to brush snow off, give or take. But these are great things to have. I like the one that we have. These are more towards the pricey end though. So if you can, maybe try to build it yourself. If you aren't willing to fork out the money. But yeah, I can attest those are good. Now with the high tunnels, of course, since these are bigger things, it's going to cost a lot more than previously mentioned stuff. And you're gonna have to have a lot more room with it. So like the ones I have on screen right now are one of them is 20 feet by 10 feet by 7 feet. So it is going to take a lot more gardening room than just having the other stuff. And with greenhouses, although I know that they meant greenhouses that you typically find at your local gardening place, I think that people can still have greenhouses. Now, granted, these won't be temperature controlled. You're gonna have to move them inside your house, outside your house, but you can still do lots of things with these greenhouses that you can do with the bigger greenhouses. The greenhouse that I have, we hang LED lights from to let the plants grow towards that in case it's like a rainy or cloudy day. I just think it's still nice for people to have a greenhouse. And it helps a lot with indoor gardening if you don't have if you like living in an apartment and you don't have no matter where you look. This give me Val, we're good.
Yeah, I just got kicked out, but I'm back.
Okay. Sorry guys, just making sure this we don't get cut out during the YouTube video. So with grow lights, these, wherever you look, you won't find the same exact grow light. That's why in the photos shown to you right now, they aren't exactly the same. I tried to find ones that look similar though. For grow lights, it really depends on where you're putting your plants, how big your plants are going to get, how many plants you're trying to grow. Again, you can hang them off the greenhouse. You can hang them off the greenhouse like sort of shelves there. But yeah, you can't really have a sturdy price to this considering everywhere has different types of grow lights. Now, these are two charts that were featured in the video. I didn't like how quickly they scrolled by it. There was one more chart that was featured in the video that that we have put up into the seed exchange box. So if you ever want to look at that, take a photo of that. You can either you can go up to the seed exchange box and it'll be up there for you to read. But there's also the main two that I wanted to touch on were the cover crops one, and the how long it takes to mature and how low the temperature can get for it to survive, for certain plants to survive. So I'm going to come back to that once. I'm going to come back to this slide once we get to our Q&A, just because I feel like it needs more time. I just have a couple more things to talk about. And then if anyone wants to see that again, we'll scroll back to this. Now, we have some links that I love that Valerie actually suggested to me, so credit to her. So one of these two links I love the most. So the almanac's frost dates. So all you need to do is put in your zip code. Doesn't matter where you live. So for mine, didn't include my zip code for reasons, but it tells you when the last spring frost is and when the first fall frost is. And it also tells you your growing season, which all these things are really nice to know, especially now with the first fall frost. That tells me that I have at least till all through September to grow. One of the other really good almanac ones is the planting calendar. Now, sure, we are talking about fall vegetable gardening, but this link also, once you put in your zip code, it also tells you what your planting dates are for spring as well as with fall. Starting your seeds indoors by this date, planting seedlings outdoors, starting seeds outdoors. I absolutely love these two links just because of how much nice, tidy information it gives you. Two more links to keep in mind. These are more towards specifically fall vegetable gardening. So one of the things that we have is an article about cleaning up for fall vegetable gardening. You have a lot of stuff that you need to think about. You need to start thinking about how you want your spring garden to start looking. It's better to think about it now. That way you don't have to work with hard ground during the end of winter. So just this, it's nice. One of the other ones was starting to think about your composting again. Again, nice to start thinking about composting, start spraying around the composting. That way your soil will have like nice fertile land, I guess you could say. And then our other link has plant fall vegetable gardenings, another non-almanac link this time. It's a different article link, but this also has really nice information on considering what to do, nice tips, nice fall gardening tips. It also gives you 10 vegetables to grow in the fall, which I like my information being nice and tidy like that. That way, like, I have suggestions, I know what I can do. So those all 4 links will be put into the description of this video when the video is uploaded. And yeah, I highly suggest you guys go check that out. And yeah, Q&A and closing. Now, thank you guys all for coming to our 12th gardening workshop. Can't believe we're already on number 12. Any questions that you put in the chat that we can't answer, you can ask the Master Gardener Horticultural Help Desk. Their email is provided on screen now, as well as the 4 links are also provided on screen now. Our next workshop is going to be seed saving, and that is going to be on August 21st instead of our usual week break in between. I am going to be doing that workshop next week, just that way any school related things, I don't need to worry about that. I can have both separated. Again, that video will be put up onto YouTube as well if you can't make it. And yeah, Valerie, if you have something to add on.
Sure. I'll go go ahead and include those links that you talked about today, Casey, because that was a lot of really great information, and there's a lot of reference materials for people to check out. So I'll also include those in the description box as well for easy clicking access. Yeah, there was a lot of great information you went over today, Casey. And yeah, you said you were going to end on
yeah, I'm gonna end on this this slide just so that anyone here who wants to see it can just have it, because again, I thought these were scrolled by past in the video. So this way, anyone who wants to still see it can come see it, read through it if they want. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think the days to maturity portion of this chart you included, Casey, is really great because you can work backwards from the frost, your first fall frost date, and working back with those days to maturity. You'll learn the must plant by date for all of the different crops you're trying to grow. So that's a kind of easy formula to determine when your plants need to be planted by. So that's a really great chart to include.
Yeah. And I want to preface by saying that this this chart in the bottom right-hand corner, this is for the Prince William area. If you do want to know how long you have to work back from, again, I highly recommend using those two almanac links I gave you. It all goes into one big circle. So again, those links are very helpful if you are watching this outside of the Prince William area. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
and if you are watching this outside of your area, there are local master gardener organizations across the states. So they would be a good reference to reach out if you're not in the Prince William County, Northern Virginia area.
Yep. And with that, I am going to look at the chat to see if we have any questions. Oh, sorry. There we go. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. And yes, see you guys next week. Again, next week's class is going to be on seed saving. And so yeah, if you have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to put them in the chat now. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be keeping an eye on the chat. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody.